Hi everybody, and thanks for ordering Unique in the Creek's Zinnia flower tutorial. For this tutorial, we are going to be using 2 rolls of deco mesh. We want to get that good saturation of color, so we're going to be using 2 pieces per petal. So I like to use 2 rolls. We're going to use a different color if you want to do the center. Now this center I'm going to do is an orange fabric mesh. I'm going to do the center in only because this color mesh is the exact same color as my umbrella on my dining room patio set. So I'm going to hang this flower on my fence right by my dining set. So I'm going to do the center this color, and I'm going to do the flower petals in this coral color. It's going to look stunning. And then I have green for leaves. So we're going to need like 8 pieces of green, but we don't need to cut that till the end of the wreath. Okay, so we got the mesh. We're going to need zip ties. 7-inch zip ties are ideal for this wreath. I have 6-inch zip ties, so I do make it work. But again, 7 or 8-inch is probably a little bit better, and you'll see why as we go. But if you only have 6-inch, work it. We'll work it. Like me, I'm not going to go out and buy a whole bunch of zip ties that are 7 inches when I have 6 inches. Okay, and then I like to use a piece of foam core board, and I cut it at 9 inches, and it doesn't matter how wide it is. I use this for a measuring tool. Because this flower tutorial or this flower wreath doesn't show any edges, there's no need to wood burn it or worry about frays on the edges. The only edge you will see is on the green leaves. So we're not going to worry about burning and having nice non-frayed edges because you won't see them. So it's just a waste of time. I have a piece of butcher twine. So it's just that cotton string that you can buy at the dollar store. So I use this we'll be using this for the center. And I have just a normal piece of twine, and I'm just use this for hanging our wreath frame on. I have needle nose pliers. I like needle nose pliers because my hands are very, very dry. So when I try to pull, sometimes when I try to pull the zip ties, they slide through my hands because I have such bad eczema. So I always have a pair of needle nose pliers on hand. Now these pliers are nice though because they do have a cutting edge right there in the center. You can even get a pair from the dollar store and just use them for your zip ties and prevents from dulling your scissors. But I always keep these around, and these are another different kind of wire cutters. And I use these for cutting my ends of my zip ties off too. They're just easier to get in with. But if you only have these, you can use these. Or you can use scissors, but I just like to use these because I can pull with the pliers and I can also snip the ends off and save my scissors. Now I don't use normal scissors for cutting my mesh. You can use normal scissors, or you can use a rotary cutter, whatever you want to use to cut your mesh, but there's no need to use a wood burner. We don't like to burn plastic because that's when you're wood burning, that's what you're burning is plastic. I, however, love my electric scissors, and I rave about them all the time. I'm going to get another pair. There's pink ones out there now. But anyways, I use my electric scissors. And of course, the Unique in the Creek board. Now, I've pre-done one of the boards right here. So the nice thing with our system is you can write your pattern actually right on your board. Okay. Now for tutorial's sake, I have done pencil marks on the front of my board, which you won't see once you put your mesh on and everything. But for teaching purposes, I am going to use a marker and mark up my board. So this is going to be the back of my board because I am using a coral mesh. I'm going to use the natural color. So for making our center, we're going to be using the closest holes to the center. So there's 8 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the 8 holes we're going to be using to make our center with. Okay, so you can mark that. If this is your first Zinnia wreath, you may want to mark it with marker 2 and keep your wreath you know, put it on your door or whatever. And that way you have your pattern right on the back of your wreath that you can refer to later, or you can just draw on a piece of paper the pattern. It's not too hard. Once you get going and you're about halfway done, you pretty much don't forget how to do it. So, okay, so we got our middle marked. Now, the next thing I like to do is I'm going to put my twine in for my string, or my twine in to the hanging holes. So I'm not searching through all the deco mesh to find the holes. So the holes are indicated with 2 marked holes, and they're offset, so they're not matching any of the other holes. And then I just double knot this. Okay, and then just cut off the excess. Now we don't have to worry about our hanging holes. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to cut our mesh. Now the mesh we're going to use right now, again, is this dark orange, and this is fabric mesh. And I like fabric mesh, but it does fray a lot. It's great for this project though, because it does give good coverage, and it's easy to work with and pliable, but it does fray like crazy. So, and I'm not sure a wood burner would be the greatest. Bang the camera. Just because it is fabric. There we go. Sorry, bang the camera. Anyways, so we need 8 pieces of this mesh, or whatever color you're using. Now, if you're using a deco mesh, I would suggest, especially if it's thin, I would suggest doubling up the pieces, just so you don't see the board, because you want it to have a really good coverage. So what I mean about doubling up the pieces is, well, actually, I'll show you in a second. I'm just going to use, I'm going to cut 9 pieces right here, but I'm only going to use, I only need 8, but I'm going to do 1 as a double pieced petal. So we got, and I write all over my boards. So there's 1 piece, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I can do all 8 pieces at once because my electric scissors do go through it. You may only want to cut 4 pieces at a time if you're using regular scissors, and if you're using the rotary cutter, then you're going to do 9-inch piece at a time. Okay, so I'm going to kept it pretty tight, so I make sure it's 9 inches, and this is especially important when you're cutting the petals for the flower, because you need 40 pieces, 40 petals for the flower, and each roll is a 10-yard roll, so you actually get 40 pieces right on if you cut them at 9-inch pieces. So if you cut it, and if you do it like really loose, so you just kind of went really loose over the board, you're going to actually end up with 10-inch pieces, and you're not going to have enough mesh. So we don't want to waste mesh. You don't need more than 9 inches. So just make sure it's nice and snug. Then you can put your clothespins on the end to hold it in place, and I'm going to zip right up with my scissors and cut it off the roll. So I've used this roll for many centers, so I still have enough probably for 1 more center. Okay, so I'm going to press down, and I'm going to cut up the side of my mesh. Okay, so if you were doing your scissors, you could cut up. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to cut this many pieces, so you'd probably only cut about 4 pieces. And then you're going to flip it over and then press down again. So it just gives that little space between the board and your mesh that you're going to cut. Okay, and that gives us 8 pieces right away. Alrighty. Okay, so to make the center, the petal for the center is made, so we're going to keep the natural curl up, so it's almost like a U shape when you lay it down on your cutting mat or your table. You are going to fold the cut edge that you cut down on itself. So the serged edges of the deco mesh are on the outside of the petal. Okay, and then swing it around. It's just easier to scrunch when you swing it around like this. And I just start pinching along the bottom to make like a shell shape almost. Okay, now you don't want to let go of your pinch, but we do need to put a zip tie down here. So what I do is with the other hand, I grab and make sure they're all folded still. And you're going to get your zip tie. And you can put it, if you have a measuring board or a cutting mat, you can put it along one of your numbers. And I'm going to do a 1/2 inch. So I got my zip tie on 9, and my tail is around, it's a bit frayed, but the main part of it is at 9.5. So I'm leaving in a 1/2 inch tail. Now you're going to zip this up, flat side of the zip tie, head and the tail go through. So the tail goes through the flat side, and you're going to tighten it. Okay, and then when you open it up, you have like this shell type formation. Okay, and then you're going to do another one. You're going to do all 8 just like this. So I'll demo another one. So again, the curled side towards you, bringing your cut edge over. So if you just run it, make sure the serged edges are lined up. And hold it down. Okay, you can spin it around. And I'm looking, I got my cutting mat under here, and I'm going to go up about here. So just keep holding it down so both sides are pinched and make this shape. Okay, and now I'm going to got my tail. So this time I have the tail on the 9, and I'm just going to go at the 9 or 8.5. So I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch of a tail of the petal when I put my zip tie. Okay, so you want it tight so that none of the edges will come out of the zip tie, but you don't want to crank it really, really tight because we need to put another zip tie through there. So I'll do one more, and then I'm going to leave you be so that you can cut your mesh and start making. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to show you how to put it in, and then I'll leave you that you can cut your mesh, put your zip ties around your petal, and then make your center. Okay, so I'm just going to pinch up, kind of holding above, so you get both sides are in your pinch. Okay. So my tail is about 9. I'm going to put my zip tie around 8.5 again. Now, if you don't have a cutting mat or anything, don't fret, don't worry. You can just guess. You can see it's just a little space, but as long as all the ends are in. So if you need to, pull down just to make sure the ends are in, and you're going to zip tight, but not too tight, because we need to get a zip tie in through there. Okay, so I pre-did half a board so that I could show you. I thought I did. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. All right, I'm just going to show you now. So here we have our holes that are marked. This white surface is going to be our back side. So we're going to flip this over. Now you see I've marked with pencil as well. So I've circled the ones that are going to be our center. What you're going to do is you're going to take a zip tie, and you're going to bring it through the closest hole to the center. Now underneath my board, I can feel that the flat part of my zip tie head is on my thumb, so it's facing up towards the ceiling or the board. This way I know when I go to flip it over and to zip it up, it's going to be in the correct position. So you can just place it down like that. Now you're going to take your petal, and you're going to pinch with your 2 fingers here the end of this petal, and you're going to push with your thumb back. So what you're doing is pushing the zip tie kind of forward and exposing a little area in there that we can come over and go down through the zip tie. So I got scissor on the tail. My thumb is pushing back on the bubble part. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go over top and down through this zip tie. So I went up, over top, and down through the zip tie that's on the petal. Okay, bring it down, and you're going to go through the coordinating hole of that. Grab both ends. You can flip it over. Okay, when you get the zip tie to the board, you're going to then pull and pull tight so that the head of the zip tie pops right into the hole. Okay, now you're going to flip it back. Now you're going to make sure this one is very tight. We want it tight onto that zip tie, and you're going to clip the tail. Now the best is to get a cup or something that you can put all the tail clippings in so you don't have them all over the place, and you're not reaching for a zip tie that's already been used. Okay, so now we're going to do this one. So again, up through the hole. I can feel the head of my zip tie is facing the board. Okay, I'm going to grab another petal. Again, scissoring and pushing back. I'm pushing out this zip tie, and I'm coming up, over top, and through the zip tie on the petal. Okay, now the tail will be facing out towards this outside of the frame here. Okay, so you see the tail and the outside of the frame. So you know you're doing it right if your tail is facing outwards. So again, you got your zip tie in, you're going up, over, down, through the zip tie. Okay, and then through the coordinating hole. Grab both ends of that zip tie on the back side of the board. You can flip it over. Zip it till it gets to the board, and then pull and pop it into the hole as you're pulling. And you're also going to make sure this one's nice and tight. Clip off the tail and throw the tail in your bowl. I'll do one more, and then I'm going to leave you, and I get you guys to do the other 5. And when you're done that, you just press play, and we will continue on making the wreath. So again, closest to the hole, scissor the end, pushing back the bubble, and I'm taking my end of my zip tie, going up, over top, through this zip tie, and back down through the corresponding hole, grabbing both and zipping it tight, flip it over and pop it in the hole. You're going to take this one and pull it tight and snip it off. Now, if you're using a very thin mesh, we don't want to see the board. And some of the mesh is some of the meshes coming out lately, especially the ones from Taiwan, are quite thin. Now, if you do think you have thin mesh, or you want to be sure that you're not going to be able to see the board, the center of the board, then you're going to double up in your petals. And what I mean by that is, I'm just going to give you an example with this mesh I have cut already, this fabric mesh. So what you're going to do is you're going to place 2 pieces on top of each other. Okay, and just make sure the seared edges match. And match it up as best as you can. Okay, and then you're going to fold it over so you have 2 pieces. And you can see how dark the color is now. Especially when you're using the thin mesh, you need to have that double color. And then you would do exactly the same thing except with 2 pieces. So you're gonna, it's a little bit harder to scrunch along the bottom, but just take your time and just use your both hands. Okay. Grab this. You're gonna zip tie around. Now this is going to be really thick, but I wouldn't normally use 2 pieces of fabric mesh. If it's just normal deco mesh, I would. but you can see how you can't even see through that anymore. So if you do want it a really dark, rich color, you can do 2 pieces of fabric mesh. It just makes it really thick, the tail, but it's just kind of wasting mesh. If you're using normal deco mesh, I would use 2 pieces if you want a nice deep color for your center. Okay, and then you're going to bring it onto your board exactly like you did. So you're going to go through the top, over through this, down through, zip it to the bottom, and zip this tight. Okay, but you'll have really deep color in there. So you decide what you want to do and the way you want to do it. If you want to do a double petal or just a single, that's totally up to you. So I'm going to leave you be to do the next 5. And when you're done these 5, press play and we will tie this together and start working on the flower. Okay, see you in a second. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully your center looks like mine. If you've used 2 pieces of mesh and it's a fabric mesh, yours will be a lot more dense, and you may not have to do this next step. But if you're just using deco mesh, the 2 pieces of deco mesh or the 1 piece of fabric mesh, you're going to want to do this next step. So you're going to take about a 24-inch piece of butcher twine. It's just like a cotton string. I get it at the dollar store on a big roll. What we're going to do is we're going to tighten the center. So I'm just going to wrap this string around this center, and I'm going to make 1 loop and tighten it just a bit. Now I'm going to go around this whole center and pull out the ruffles to make sure they're A, standing up, and B, in their spot where they're supposed to be. So this ruffle, say right here, is not like way over here, because we want it as uniform as possible. And then pull up what's in the center. Okay, and then once you got that all fixed up, now I'm still pulling. I still have my string in my hands here, so I'm pulling on the string as I'm fiddling around with this. So I think that looks good. Once you've got it well in place, you can then tighten it just a little bit more and then double knot it. I think I took a little bit too much string and it's in the way. There we go. Okay, so now you can let go of this string, and now make sure you can spin your board around just to make sure all the edges are in the string and not coming out the bottom, which I think we're good to go. And once you've got that done, you can clip off the excess string. Okay, so now we are going to go on to our next row of holes. So I'm going to put this aside, and we are going to make our flower petal. Now you're going to need 2 rolls of mesh for your flower petals. Now I've already pre-cut a whole bunch of flower petals for the tutorial. So I've already cut most of my mesh, but I did leave some on a roll just to show you what I've done. So what you're going to want to do is we're going to cut 2 full rolls, and we're going to cut them into 9-inch pieces. So to do that easily, I use electric scissors, but if you don't have electric scissors, you still can use normal scissors, or you can use a rotary cutter. For a rotary cutter, you're going to put the edge to the 0, and with your cutter, you're going to go right up the 9-inch mark. Now this may take a little longer to do than the way I'm going to do it, but as long as you got 2 full rolls cut, you should be okay. Another way you can do it, since you're not going to see the edges of these petals, you don't have to worry about fraying. So no need to use a wood burner, and really, if you have a nice sharp pair of scissors, a faster way to do it is to do like I'm doing. Now this is just a 9-inch foam cord board, like I said at the beginning. I'm just going to fold this over on it. So I now have 2 pieces, 1, 2. I'm just going to put some clothespins on the edge of the roll here, and I'm going to make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, now you can flip this over and keep it tight, and then flip it over again. Now, if you're just using normal scissors, I would flip it over 3 or 4 times, and no more than that. Okay, and then take your clothespins that you put at the beginning and clip it so that they're all together here. There. Okay, you can now cut this off the roll. It's easier if I just do it this way because I'm right-handed. So you're going to cut this off the roll. Alrighty. So now you have this rectangular piece of mesh, but there's several pieces in it. What you're going to do now is press down on the mesh, and this releases a space between the board and the actual edge of the mesh. And what you're going to do is run your scissors up the middle of this, so you can just lift it up and just pinch it as you're going. For some reason it's sticking on me. I don't usually cut it this way, but because I have electric scissors that I just zip up, but for tutorial's sake, you're just going to cut down the middle. Once you start cutting, it's much easier if you just tip it to the side. That way you can cut pieces. So now you've cut, how many did I cut here? 6 pieces in a little time. Again, don't worry about the frays because you will not see the edge of the mesh with this petal. Okay, I'm going to show you how I do it with my electric scissors. So again, you're going to cut 2 full rolls. Okay, I go along just like I started before with the normal scissors. And I'm going to flip it over, lining up the edges, the serged edges there. And that just keeps my mesh in place, so this very first piece is not going to be really short because we want to use all of the pieces. So we want 9-inch pieces. So when you cut 2 rolls of 10-yard mesh, you are going to get 40 pieces of mesh. Actually, you're going to get 80 pieces, sorry, 80 pieces of mesh, 40 pieces per roll. Okay, so now if you have electric scissors, you can just keep flipping. Now I flip quite a few times because I don't want to get it done quick. Still keeping it nice and tight. Okay, and then I get my scissors and I'm going to cut it off the roll. So zip it down. Oh. Okay, and then you can take your clothespins if you want and keep the edges folded there. Now again, I'm going to press down so it releases a little space between the board and your mesh. I'm just going to cut up the side, spin it around, and I'm going to cut up the other side. We should have a bunch of pieces. Now make sure when you open it that all the pieces are cut. This one's not. Okay, so you should see the board when you open it up. Okay, you can take your clothespins off, remove your board, and put your mesh on top of each other. Okay, and then you can clip them together. I like to clip them all together because my dog has a long bushy tail. If I don't clip them together, she gets pieces caught in her tail as she walks by. So I've learned to clothespin them together. Okay, I'm going to pause you guys here because I'm going to get you guys to cut your full 2 rolls. And then once you've done that, come back, press play, and I'm going to show you how to make the petals. Okay, see you in a little bit. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you got both of your rolls cut into your 9-inch pieces. So the next step we're going to do is the next set of holes. So we are going to do I'm going to mark up this board. I lost my marker again. So what we're going to do is the next set of holes. So these holes have been done with our the center of the wreath. And the next set we're going to do is this set. Okay, so this outer set here. So it's just inset a little bit from these ones. So we've got these ones. So there's 8 of them. Okay. Okay, so it's this one, this one. So you can see that they're inset a little bit. Now these, we're going to do 2 pieces of mesh per section here, and I'll explain that in a second. So we're going to need 8 of these next petals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we need 8 of these. And these petals are made by taking 2 pieces of your deco mesh that you've just cut, and we're going to put them on top of each other. So what we're doing is, because the deco mesh is quite transparent, so you can really see through it really well, and I don't want to see the frame of our wreath. So I'm going to double up the petal, or the deco mesh for this petal, and make it one uniform piece. We'll make it look like one uniform piece. So you just line up the serged edges with each other. Okay, so there's 2 pieces on top of each other, and it's got that natural curve. What you're going to do, once you've lined it up, you're going to turn your deco mesh into the shape of a diamond. Okay, so one corner down below and one up top. The down below corner, you're going to take your 2 scissor fingers, I call them, so your middle finger and your pointer finger, and you're going to make like scissors and clamp the bottom of the corner of that piece of deco mesh. Okay, then you're going to take the top of the corner up top and fold it over and match it up. So you're basically folding this over top of your finger, matching it up with the corner, and holding it with your thumb. So I've got it pinched in between my fingers and my thumb. Okay, so it makes this umbrella type shape. I'm going to then take this corner, bring it down, that it's matched up with the corner, but I'm going to fold the sides in and grasp the center. Okay, so you can see that it's forming a bubble type shape. You're going to do the same with the other side. Bring it down to the corner, fold it around, and you have this bubble type formation. So it's flat, and then there's a divot on each side. Okay, now you're not going to let go of this clump that you have. Okay, you are going to put a zip tie around it. Now I like to make about a 2-inch tail, and how I do that, I can either guess or if I have a cutting mat or even a piece of tape, if you want to put a piece of masking tape or painter's tape on your table at 2 inches, you put your zip tie at the beginning. So I'm going to put it on my 8. I'm going to hold down, so there's this divot parts are going to be at the side. Okay. I'm going to fold this down, and I'm going to put my zip tie on my 8, and the end of my tail is going to be at about the 6. So that gives me a 2-inch tail. Okay, so I'm going to come up, and my flat side of my zip tie is facing the ceiling again, even with making petals. And you're going to zip this tight enough that it's not going to come loose, so the corners are not going to come out, but not too tight that you can't get a zip tie through there. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to do it again. We're going to need 8 of these with 2 pieces. So again, take 2 pieces off your stack. You're going to line the serged edges up. Okay, you're going to put it into a diamond shape. Scissor the bottom with your 2 fingers. Bring your top corner, fold it down, match it up with the corner, hold your thumb so you've got that umbrella shape. Take this corner, bring it down to match the corner, and you're going to wrap it around that center. You're going to bring this down, match the corner, and wrap it around the center. So again, you have a ball-shaped formation, and then there's divots in the side. Take a zip tie. Again, I'm going to put it on my 8. I'm going to press, holding this down, and my tail is about at the 6. Oh, sorry. It's about at the 6. Okay. So I'm going to bring the tail up. So I'm pushing down on the tail of the petal. So I don't let go. I don't want the corners to come out. And I'm going to zip this up. Now this may take a little bit of practice. Okay. Zip it tight. And we again have another bubble formation, and then it's puckered, I guess you would say, in the sides. Okay, one more time. And then I'm going to let you go, and you're going to make 8 of these. Okay, so I've serged, the sides are serged. There we go. So it looks like one piece. Scissor the bottom corner, bring your top corner over top of your finger, grab it with your thumb, bring the side down, wrap it around, side down, wrap it around, pinched in the middle, zip tie. Again, I'm just using 8-inch. So I'm going to put my tail a little bit over. There we go. And that's about 2 inches. So I'm going to bring my zip tie up. I'm going to have to use my needle nose pliers in my hands again. There we go. So whatever you need to make it work, use it. Clothespins, pliers. When you're broken like me, you do whatever you can to get by. Okay, so I'm going to pause you here. You're going to make 8 of these bubble type formations. And once you've got your 8 double pieced bubbles, press play, and I'm going to show you how to put these in. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to put these bubbles that you made, we're going to put them onto our frame now. Like I said when I was showing you my beautiful diagrams, we're going to be using these 2 holes right here. Okay, so they're just out a little bit from the holes that we used for the center zip ties, or for the center form. Now we're going to go in through, of course, the hole closest to the center, like we always do, because we want the zip ties all facing the same way. So I'm going to put my zip tie through that hole. Okay, now I'm feeling with my finger on the bottom that I can feel that the flat part of the zip tie is facing the ceiling. Place this down. Now you're going to get your bubble, your pretty bubble, and what we're going to do is I want you to put the tail and put it through your scissor fingers. Okay, and then you're going to grab the bubble part with your thumb and your 2 other fingers, and you're just going to kind of fold this down, this tail down, because what we want the tail pointing out this way, but with the zip tie going up. So this is a zip tie in the frame. There's the tail. We're going to go up, over top, of the zip tie and through the zip tie that's in the petal. Okay, hopefully you can see that. I'll do it one more time. So the zip tie is up, over top, through the zip tie center, and we're going to go down through the corresponding hole. Grab the back, the two zip tie ends on the back, and then you can flip it over, and you're going to zip this up. So you can pull the zip tie till it hits the frame, and then once it hits the frame, you're going to pull it tight, and as you're pulling it, it's going to pop right into the hole. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to flip it back over, and you're going to tighten the one that's on the petal. So tighten it nice and tight, and we're going to snip off the tail of that one. Okay, so our tail is facing out towards the edge of the frame. Okay, and we've zip tied it to the front of the petal. I'm going to do another one. So this will be the next one we do right here. So again, going through this hole closest to the center. My zip tie head, the flat part is facing up. I'm going to take my petal. Okay, and then again, I'm going to put my fingers over top of my scissor fingers on the tail. I'm going to push back. So I'm pushing, literally pushing out the middle of the zip tie that's on the petal and pushing it out just for easier access to get that zip tie that you have on your frame up and over. Okay, it's fastening it right to the frame, and then you're going to go down, grab both of those zip ties in the back. Again, you can flip it over. Oh, my fingers. Zip it and pop it in. Okay, this one you're going to tighten. Make sure it's nice and tight. If your hands are getting sore, use your needle nose pliers and snip off that tail. So we got two here. So we're going to do one. I'm going to show you one more, and then I'm going to get you to do the rest of the 5. Okay, so again, we're going through the hole closest to the center, scissoring our tail and pushing it back. So, and then we're exposing the center of the zip tie on our petal, going up, over, and down the zip tie, and down through the corresponding hole. Again, grab both ends. Okay, flip it over, zip this up. Okay, once it hits the board, you can pull and pop it into the hole. We're then going to tighten. Always make sure to tighten your tail on your petal one, because you don't want it slipping off the one we just anchored to the board, and cut your tail off. Okay, so as you can see, it's starting to form a flower-like formation. So once you do one, another, you're going to do 5 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can look at the back too to see where we've left off. So I've got 1, 2, 3 here. So I still need 5 more here. Okay, so I'm going to pause you here. You finish off your other 5 with your double bubbles, and press play when you're done, and we'll continue on with making our wreath. Okay, welcome back. So you should have a really cute looking center already of a flower. So yours should look somewhat like this. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to cut off these tails. So my scribbling is confusing as it is. tails in. I have a little bucket I throw all the tails in so they're not all over the place, or a bowl or a cup or something, so you don't have them all over your house, and then you don't go grab one thinking it's a full zip tie. Okay, so you're going to just make sure all your heads are pushed in. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the same way, but we're going to use this hole. Okay, so this would be the hole that's closest to the center. So this hole right here that we did, that is the center that we did the dark orange. Okay, we're going to share this hole. So we're going to do a zip tie from here to here. All right, and then again over here to here. So this is the inner. Okay. We're going to put 2 pieces, just like we did. So you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of double bubbles. Now, if you're using 6-inch zip ties like I did, I didn't really want to go out and buy the 7-inch zip ties because I had a whole bunch of 6-inch. So this next step gives me a little bit of a struggle. I do use my needle nose pliers a lot with it, just because it just barely reaches. Now, if you have 7-inch zip ties or 8-inch zip ties, you're golden. You're good to go. But I didn't feel like running out and buying different ones, so I'm using what I have. Okay, now if you're using pipe cleaners, you would have to use a full pipe cleaner for this step. So when you flip it over, you can see that there's this empty spot here. Okay, and this is where we're going to put our bubble. So what I'm going to get you to do is make another 8 of those double bubbles. Okay, and we're going to put them in those spots that we just marked. Okay, so we get and fold. And once you get going more, you can make the bubbles a little bit faster. I've done a few of these now, and I'm getting really fast at them. So I just kind of guessed there where the tail is. I can flatten it down, and it is 2 inches. Tighten it up. Make your bubble. So I'm going to make 3 of these right now, and I'm going to show you how to put them in. And then you can pause it after I've done these 3, and you're going to do all 8, and I'll finish up the rest of mine when you're doing yours. Okay, so creating a bubble, double bubble. Now there are ones that we will be using single ones. That's why I don't get you to do it all at one time. Fingers are so sore. Okay, so there's 2. Okay, and wrapping around, there's 3. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 for now. You're going to do 8 when I'm finished showing you how to put them in, and you're going to put all 8 in. Okay, so there's 3 of my bubbles that I have done. Just put them to the side. Now you're going to grab your frame again. Now we are going to, you can see that in between these ones that we put in, there's an empty space here. So we'll flip our board over, and you can see it's going to be this space right here. So you're going to grab a zip tie. Now I think I have one long zip tie here, and I'm going to show you how it's much nicer it is when it is the longer zip tie. So I'm going to go up through this hole. So I'm going through a shared hole. So this zip tie right here is the zip tie holding one of the pieces of the dark orange. So I'm going to share it. I'm going to flip this over while I keep hitting the camera. And I'm going to put the petal in exactly how I did these ones. So I'm going to scissor the end of the tail, push back, up, around, down the zip tie. Now you're going to go into this big jump right here. You're going to go into that hole. Now it's probably a little bit harder to see, but you'll be able to see more when I flip it over on the back side. Okay. And then I'm going to zip it up. Now I'm doing it with an 8-inch here. I believe this is 8 inches or 7. But anyways, as you can see, it goes in nice and easy. Okay. And then you got to remember to zip this one nice and tight and snip the tail. Okay. Now we're going to go in between this one. So from here back. This time I'm going to use a 6-inch, and you'll see what I mean about the struggle. It's real, folks. Flip your board over. And so I'm going in here. So I'm doing the exact same. So when I go in through my zip tie, if I faced it down towards the board, that flat side would be hitting the board. So flip it over. Grab your bubble petal. Try and show you guys what I'm doing. Again, you're going up over the zip tie on your petal, down, and then you're going through this big reach of a hole here. Now when I flip it over, you're going to see what I mean about the 6-inch. So if you pull it nice and tight, it just barely reaches. Now if I grab it with my needle nose pliers, I do make this work. You crank on it and pull, and it pops in the hole. Okay, and it's locked. Doesn't give you much play. You don't get much play. There's only a little piece of the tail here, but it does work. Saves me from running out and buying new zip ties. And then again, you are going to pull. Make sure this bubble is pulled tight, and snip off the tail. Okay. And now we're going to go in between, again, this next big jump here. So you can flip it over, go in with my zip tie. You might have to move the tail of the center mesh. You might have to move it out of the way to get your zip tie through. Okay, so there it is. I'm going to take my bubble, scissor the tail, push it back, bend it in so your middle of your zip tie is exposed, that you can go up and over and down, and going into this big jump. Okay, try and grab both pieces of your zip tie. And get your needle nose pliers and pull. Am I zipped in there? Yes, I am. Okay. Now you're going to pull, make sure the one on your petal is nice and tight, and clip the tail. So as you can see, our flower is getting much fuller and starting to form. Now as you add more and more petals, they're all going to push up and get squished together, so you won't see any of the frame as we go on here. So I'm going to leave you here, and where you're going to go is this next one. So if you're going to go around, you can see I've done 1, 2, 3. So I've done 3. I need to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I need to do 5 more. You're going to pause here and you're going to do all 8. So it's the inner ones, and if you want to circle it, feel free. I'm going to snip off this tail, and I'm going to continue the rest of my 5 that I need to put in. And once you've done all your 8, press play again, and we're going to continue on working our way out of the wreath. I will see you in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. So your back should look like mine. So any of these long, you should have 8 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when you flip your wreath over, you can slide your bubbles up so they're pushed near the front. So your wreath should somewhat look like this. So we are forming bubbles, bubbles everywhere. Okay, so the next section we are going to do is we're going to work on this section. So we used this small indented area, remember this right here? Now we're going to go from here to here. Okay, so we're going to only use 1 petal. So we're going to do a single petal, not a double one like we've been doing. So again, this indented one here, we're going to do 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1, and 1, and 1. So we're going to need 8 single petals. So you can put this aside. So you're going to take 1 piece of mesh and you're going to do exactly what you did. Now I do it as a single petal because we don't want the flower wreath to look too full, like too squished together. And if we keep using double petals, it will get really squished. But we don't want any empty spots. So this single piece is just like a filler for the wreath. Okay. So you're just going to make a single one. And we're going to need 8 single ones. It's about 2 inches. So we're still keeping the tail about 2 inches. So it's a little bit more transparent than the double one. Folding it exactly the same as you were all along. Okay, so I'll do 3 again and show you how to put it in, and then you can go and do your 8 and I'll continue doing my 5. So we do step by step because this is a bit of a confusing wreath, but you just have to think it out, and that's why I like to draw on it. Now of course you wouldn't draw on it for a customer, but you could print out the pattern that you do get with this tutorial, and then you just refer to it when you're making customer ones. But for your first one, I do, like I said before, I do suggest doing your first one for yourself, and then trying it out to see what you like best and how to do it, and so you don't have a big huge mess like I do here. Okay, so we're going from here to here. So like I said, we're doing these indented ones, and we're going to just use the 1 petal. So it's going to be a shared hole again. So we're going to come through this hole, flip your board over. Okay, you're going to take one of your single bubbles, attach it exactly like you've attached all the rest. Now it's getting a little tight in here. Okay, so up, over, down, and then through the hole. Grab the 2 back. Now you don't have to stretch this one as far as the last one. Zip it up, pull tight, pop it in the hole, flip it over, and of course you're going to tighten up the petal one and cut the tail. If you guys knew how long this actually took me to figure out, you would be wondering why I didn't charge more for this video, this tutorial. But it is a really, really pretty wreath when we are done, so it's worth the trouble. Okay, so again, I'm coming up through the hole here, taking my single petal. I've got mesh everywhere. I'm folding it back, coming up and over, getting tight in there. Up, over, and down. Sorry, I'm still here. Just pulled my wreath frame up more to my chest so I could get it. Okay, and pop it in the hole. Okay, so we did this one, we're going to do this one right here. Oh, first, don't forget, I just almost forgot, you've got to tighten that petal. We don't want the tail coming out. Always make sure you tighten and then cut it off. You can really see this forming now. Okay, so we're going to go in right there. Up and over your single petal. Dig through your mesh bubbles here. Up, over, and down. Through the hole. Grab the two pieces in the back. Pull and pop it in. Pull this one, make sure it's nice and tight, and cut the tail. Okay, so you have 8 to do. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to do. So I'm going to pause you again here. You're going to do your 8. I'm going to do my 5. And we're going to meet again when we're done that. And we will finish this off. See you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So are you sick of making bubbles yet? But look how pretty the flower wreath is starting to turn out. It's almost completed. We are going to be working on the next set. So your back of your wreath probably kind of looks like this. I lost my snippers. I'm going to snip off the tails of these ones. Okay. There you can see a little bit better. Okay, so now we are going to work on the 3-pronged one. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now for this one, we're going to be using these 2 holes right here. Okay, we're going to be using 2 pieces of mesh like we did earlier. Okay, so each one of these, and we're going to make our bubbles. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3. So it's usually 8. Usually it's always 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to need 8 double bubbles again. So I have one here. I have a couple I've already pre-made that are on my floor. I have bubbles all over my floor. 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's 4. I'm going to put 4. I'll show you how to put 4 in. So again, we're going to be using these two holes. Okay, so we're going to go in through this hole, flip this over, so our zip tie is ready to go. Ah! Technical difficulty. My camera just fell. I'm just going to pause it 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to raise my camera up a little bit, and it's just on one of these extendable arm things. So I tried to raise it up because our wreath is getting so big. I was trying to get more into the picture. Anyways, okay, so we got our zip tie in the hole here. Now, to do this petal, we are going to point the tail of the petal to go inwards. Okay, so all these bubbles, we've been doing it so the tail faces outwards. So we've been pushing it and then hooking it over top and the front. This time we're going to do it backwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. So what we're going to do, I'm going to just show you with this right here. This is coming up through the hole, and we're going to go to the back side of the bubble. Okay, and up through the zip tie, and then come around through the hole. Okay, so it might be easier for you to do your bubble. Put your zip tie through the back of your bubble like I just did, and make sure that the flat side is facing towards like the bubble. So when you go to put it on, your tail will go through the flat side of the zip tie. Okay, hope that makes sense. So I'm going to pre-put that in already. And then I'm going to, these two holes right here, I'm going to put the head closest to the hole towards the center. Okay, and then the tail goes through the corresponding hole right there. Now, keep in mind the tail is facing inwards this time. So this, doing it this way is going to make that outline of a flower on the outer part of it. So let me get this zipped in and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so if I flip it over, pop it in the hole, okay, and there's a space in between the two. So snip that. So there's that space here. So that's going to stay empty. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm going to do the same. Turn your frame around, and you'll see the two holes right here. You're going to come up through this inner hole. Okay, the flat part of my zip tie. You're going to take another one of your bubbles. Now I've pre-cut, like I said, I've used these ones already, but don't forget you have to tighten your zip tie when you put your bubble in. Okay, now I'm going to go, now if you want to do it this way, you can go push that forward, go up through the back of the bubble. So usually we're going up the front, but we're going to go through the back side because we want the tail of that bubble to point inwards. Okay, so now I'm going down through that corresponding hole, grabbing the two ends, and flip it over and zip it up. Okay, so now I'm going to do this one right here. Okay, double bubble. I'm actually going to do two pieces. I'm going to show you to make sure that you're zipping it. So I'm going to make a brand new piece, a brand new bubble, quickly. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we're going through these two holes here. So you're going to go up. Okay. And then you're going to go through the back of the bubble, like so. Now again, you can just slide it if you want, but if it's easier for you, just slide it through, making sure that the flat side and the tail will be able to zip properly. Okay. And you can put this head through this hole and the tail through the corresponding hole. Flip it around. Oh, I'm just having no luck with this video, but I am not redoing it again for dogs barking. Okay. And make sure now you're going to zip this tight. Lady. And cut off the tail. Lady, stop it. Now this middle one is on a slide, so you can slide it back. And you're going to want to move your tails around and slide this middle one back. There we go. So you just want the bubbles showing. Now this area right here will be filled, so you'll see a blank area there, and that'll be the last ones we do. So we're going to go around, and we're going to do this one from here to here again, right there. Now there is, it looks like there's not one there, but there is one. It's just on, I got it slid right forward. Okay. I like to make sure that the petals I'm putting in for these outside ones are nicely rounded and not like squished or anything, because you do see this does make the outline of the flower. Okay, and this one, you're going to go up through the back of the zip tie, or you can take the zip tie out, which I'm going to do. This one's, I zipped it a little too tight. There we go. And you can put the head in. Now I don't teach it like this for all the holes because, like I said, you'd have to dig through all of this to try to find those holes. But because this is the outside petals, you can see the holes to actually do the zip tie like that. Okay, so I'm gonna flip it over and pop it in. And make sure you tighten that one. It was already cut, and then you can slide the one in front of it a little forward to give it some cover. We don't want any bare spaces. Once this is all done, we can go around and open up the bubbles. Some of them get smushed, but that's the beauty of this wreath too, is that it does look natural, sort of. That's a funny looking bubble, but it's just a filler. It's a single one, so it's just a filler to fill up spots. Okay, so we've got these two. So you can go in through the hole, or you can just take the zip tie out and do it like we were doing. Do I have any bubbles that are nice? No, I'm going to make a nice one. So folding. So you've done enough bubbles that you could probably do these really fast to begin with. Okay. It's almost a square-ish bubble. Okay, I'm going to take it out, go up through the back, feed it through, and then I'm bending the zip tie. My frame keeps sliding away from me. Put it through one hole, down through the other hole. Fix your tail so the tail's not sitting on any of the bubbles, but it's underneath the bubble. You can zip it up. Tighten this one. And cut off the tail. Okay, so we have three left. So I'm going to pause it here, and you guys can do your 8. I'm going to do the rest of my 3 that I have, and press play when you're done, and we will be filling in these spaces, and we're almost done. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, back again. We are putting our last actual petals in our wreath here. So now we have this blank spot. Make sure all these tails are in. We have this spot right here. So it's in between these ones that's forming the outside of the wreath. Okay, so this spot. What we're going to do is this time we are going to go up through this hole. Okay, this hole right here, and it's going to go over the edge of the board, and I will show you what I mean. So you will need 8 double bubbles. Double bubble. I've already made my 8. So if you just want to watch while I'm doing this, or you can pause it and make 8 and do it with me, however you want. It's up to you. So I'm going to actually do what I did the last time, is just on the back side of my bubble, I'm going to bring up that zip tie through the middle of this zip tie, tighten it a bit, and I'm going to go with the head of the zip tie through this hole. So I'm going to bring it down through this hole, and then the tail of my zip tie is going to come around the edge of the board and be zipped. My hands are getting tired. Okay. So you have the edge. You're going to zip this tight. Snip the tail off. Make sure the tail is tucked in there. And you can slide this one back. Okay, so what I'm going to do once this one's in there is I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue afterwards, and because see how it slides up and down the zip tie. I'm just going to make sure that it's going to stay in place where I want it. But for right now, it can slide up and down. Okay, this next one, again, up through this hole here. Okay, and leave the zip tie head at the edge of the board. And then you can go through the back, or again, just go through the back. Whatever you're comfortable with. It seems to be easier pre-putting the zip tie in. Of course, I made this way too tight because that's how this whole video has gone for me. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to put the head in that hole, and the tail is going to come around the board, edge of the board. I'm going to flip the board over, zip this up, and pop it into the hole. Okay, now there's a Gotta make sure the tail is underneath all the bubbles, and we're gonna slide this forward. Again, I will put a little bit of hot glue there to keep it in the spot. The reason I do it like this is so the outside of the flower wreath doesn't just, there's like some dimension to it. So this one will stick out more, this one will go in further. So there's a little bit of dimension. You just got to make sure, once we're done, we'll make sure all the tails are where they're supposed to be tucked in. Now you can cut the tails if you want. I like to keep the tails because it does cover the board a bit more. So you're going to get another bubble, put your zip tie through the back. And we are going to, where are we? We are right here. Okay, so put your head in, and you want to make sure you're not caught in your twine anywhere. Okay, flatten this tail out. Okay, zip it through on the back. Oh boy. Okay, so you see how the hanger's still there? You don't want it caught in your zip tie. Okay, you're going to tighten this petal and give it a cut. Move this one down, and again, like I said, I will glue it to where I want the spot to be. This is a big wreath. It does fit between two doors, believe it or not, because I had the turquoise one on my front door. This wreath is a lot of work, but it's very pretty and it's very unique. So if that you like pretty and unique, this is definitely the wreath for you. And I put my zip tie in upside down. I am so glad we're almost done because I'm running out of steam. Okay, head into the zip tie, or into the board, and then the tail of the zip tie is going around the board, and the tail of the bubble, make sure it's underneath. It's not caught anywhere. Zip it. Now, if you have a bad back like me, you should really do this in stages. So have a rest in between, which I wish I did, but I didn't because I want to get this tutorial done. Okay, and you can slide it forward. And I'm just making sure all the tails are lining up, that they're not bogging down any of these bubbles. When you're making it, you'll probably see what I'm talking about, because it might pull your bubble down towards the frame, and you don't want that. You want all the bubbles coming up. Okay, almost done. Almost done. Okay, I'm gonna plug my glue gun in right now so that it is hot. Because the only part you need to glue Alright, we're on. Okay. So plug your hot glue gun in if you want now. The only parts we're going to glue are that bubble that we're going to slide towards the front. So those are the ones that we just put on. Okay, through the back. You can tighten it. Okay, you're going to go through the hole here. That's where the head's going. The tail of the zip tie is going around the outside of the wreath. And pull it down. Hope my camera doesn't fall again. Tighten. Clip your zip tie off the tail and slide it forward, making sure your tail's nicely in there. And when you're making it, you can see that the two tails, the front, the petal from in front and the petal that you just put in, they line up together. Okay, almost done, almost done. Bear with me. I'll tighten it. Okay, sliding this forward, down the hole, and my zip tie came out. Okay. Oh, this zip tie just doesn't want to stay in there. I think I'm just tired. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, let's get this done. It's going to give me a hard time because we're almost done. Okay, pop that in the hole. Tighten. Snip. So see how the tail is kind of pulling this one down? We don't want that. We want to pull this one up and face it very nicely right beside the one in front, and then puff this one back up because it was pulling it down. Alrighty, we're almost done. One more. Last one, ladies. Okay, up through. I'm just going to tighten a little bit. I think this one's going to give me a hard time because it's my last one. Probably just the way this tutorial's been going. And I hate to reshoot it because it takes a long time. See? Going to be give me trouble. You may find an easier way as you do these. If you do, please share. I sit and play with mesh constantly, trying to make new flowers and come up with new ideas for you guys. So any help that you can give me, I am totally open to. And I mean that with, oh, I still need one more. I thought it was my last one. Yeah, if any suggestions, I'm totally open to change or modification. Because just because I do it this way doesn't mean it's the right way. It could be an easier way. But this is the way I figured out when I was playing around with the mesh. 22 hours later, I came up with this big, humongous flower. Now this is huge. This is going to look amazing on my fence. Amazing. All right, one more left. And there it is. It fell on the ground. That's why I thought that was the last one. Come on. Don't give me a hard time. Wow. I'm telling you, this is a lot of work. but boy, is it worth it. If you were to sell this wreath, you can get some pretty penny because A, it is so different than any other wreath you've seen, flower wreath you've seen. And B, it's huge, considering it's only 2 rolls of mesh. Actually, not even a full 2 rolls. It is stunning. Okay, I'm going to slide that forward. Okay, I'm going to go around and make sure none of my tails are pushing any of the bubbles down. So just spin it around. Wow, this is huge. Got a little bit of stringies, so you can cut those off. But considering we didn't use any kind of wood burner or anything, it's pretty string free. A little bit here and there. All right. So my glue gun's heating up, and while it's heating up, I'm going to make, wow, this is huge. I can't even get it into the camera. It's so big. But you'll be able to see it better when I post a picture. And you'll probably have to play around. Look at this one's a flat pancake one. You just have to open it up. So you have to play around with the bubbles to fill in the spaces and twist them. Okay, so this baby is going to the side here. Now I'm going to add, you can add 8 leaves. I'm only going to add, I think I'm only going to add 4, but I'm going to do a double petal. So this is a roll I already opened up, so it's got quite a bit of a tattered end there. So I'm going to trim that off. Okay. Now our leaves, again, are going to be 9 inches. So I'm going to do 8 pieces. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm not too worried about the preciseness of it because these are just the petals, so it kind of comes out the background of your flower to give it some color and really pop it. It'll be interesting to see what color combinations you guys come up with. Like I said, I did the coral with the dark orange center just because it matched my patio set of where I want to put it on my fence. Okay, again, we're going to zip it up the side. Now this is where you may want to use a wood burner if you really need to not have frayed edges. I just use my scissors, and then once it's on the door, I just trim. I spend a lot of time just trimming up and cleaning up the edges. Okay, we have 8 pieces of green. Now to make the leaves for the outside of the flower, you got your rectangle. You're going to turn it into a diamond. This time your fold, see how it's got that curl? Your curl is going to be facing downwards, okay? And you're going to scrunch with your thumbs and your pointer finger. You're going to scrunch up the middle of the diamond to the opposite corner. And then I just flip it up. So this is how it ends up. I flip it up and then I just kind of measure to see if they're both the same length and clothespin it. So there's one. And I'm going to, again, the curl is going down. I start in the corner. I'm going to pinch it up. Okay, and then I just flip the leaves upwards. Just see if they're about the same length. And clip it. I like to clip my leaves first because when you do clip them, if you leave them for a few minutes, the plastic makes it forms itself a V shape. So when you go to put it on your wreath, it kind of stays into that V shape. Few more. That's a weird piece. But I'm not cutting another one. One more. Okay, let's get this bad boy done. I don't even think I could fit it in the camera. I'm going to move these leaves out of the way. I'm done with the scissors. Done with the green. Okay. Got a pancake one here again. I'll fix it when I... Okay, so if you flip your flower over, you will see we're going to be using this hole. See this hole? We're going to go through this hole and we're going to come around the edge. So we're going to use all these leftover outside holes for the green pieces. Now I'm going to do, you could do one each. So there's 8 holes that you can fill, but I'm going to do 4 holes. I'm just going to put leaves on one side of the flower, but I'm going to put two sets of petals. What am I doing? 2 sets of the green leaf petals in each hole of those 4 holes. So just like we did before. Now really hard to see now because we have a full wreath here. So I'm going in through that hole. I'm going to push this back. So there's that little space there. I'm taking one green leaf, take it out of the clip. I'm going to take another green leaf, take it out of the clip, and I'm going to put them on each other, just like this. Okay, now if you were going to do 8 leaves all the way around if you wanted, you would just use 1, and you would put it in exactly the same. Lady, stop. Okay, so you're going to put it at the edge of the board. Oh, there they go. So the middle of those leaves is around the zip tie. So I'm going to tighten it, and then I'm going to swing this around so you can see the back. I'm going to tighten it more, and then I'm going to pop it into that hole. So as you can see, all the holes are going to be used. So I'm going to put another one here, another set of 2. So again, take the clip off. Sorry, fixing camera. And take the clip off. Putting them together. So they're forming like 4 petals, so 2 on each side. I'm going to go find my zip tie. There it is. Put the middle of those, both of those petals together. Put the middle on the edge of the frame. And come around. Grab. Okay, grab it. I should call this the noisy production. Dogs and phones, camera dropping. I am going to have to reshoot this, but for now, this is what you get. Because I just can't do it again right at this moment. Okay, so I swung it around the edge of the board and popped it in the hole. I'm going to put it underneath the bubbles here. Oh wow, that is so pretty. So it's framing behind the bubbles. You guys will see it better once I have a picture posted. I'm going to have to do some trimming for sure. But that's okay, I don't mind. I actually like trimming. Something therapeutic about it. But I'll do it in a bit. Okay, so I got 1, 2. I'm going to do another one right here. Coming up through the hole. You can see that's right in between there is where I'm putting the middle of my green petal. So if you were just doing single, you would just stick that one in. But I am doing a double one because I'm not going all the way around the wreath with it. I'm getting fancy. Fancy smancy. Okay. Yep, sound effects. Okay. One more set of leaves. Okay. Just raise the bubbles. Lift them up so the green is underneath them. Man, this is a lot of work, but holy, I wish you guys could see this whole wreath right this second, but it doesn't fit in the camera. It's just way too big. Going up through this hole. And our last set of petals. So I'm putting them on one on top of the other. So if you see how it makes that V shape when you put the clothespin, then you just match those 2 centers up. Push your bubble back so you can get in there. A tight squeeze. Come on, last zip. Ah, that feels so good. Oh. Lift your bubbles up so your leaf is underneath. Oh my goodness, this thing is a monster. It is stunning. I don't know why I'm trimming it right now. I shouldn't be. Okay, so I got you guys to plug in your glue gun. Now you don't have to, the flower looks perfectly fine right now. I know you can't really see it. I'll just move the camera around. Do you see this monster? Yeah, it's the lighting, but it is huge. Uh-oh, don't drop camera. Okay, so that one petal that you put in that slides up and down, See it sliding up and down? I don't want it to slide up and down. I want it to be pushed more to the front and stay there. So this outer one, so goes, you know, out, in, or along the back, or along the outside of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue just going across. I don't know if you can see that. Try not to touch it. So across the zip tie, and I'm going to push it down. You can even use your scissors or whatever and push it down and hold it there. Okay, we want it to stay there. And this is just adding dimension to the outside of the flower. Okay, you only have to hold it a few seconds. So it's kind of in. Okay, turn it around so it'll be every other one. You'll be able to tell because one slides and one doesn't. So every other one slides. So again, I'm just going to put some glue going across the zip tie there. Okay, I'm going to slide it up. I'm just going to push it with my scissors or whatever you have and hold it there. Now don't try and use your finger. I was just pushing the tail down. Okay, so you can see, I don't know if you can see, so this one comes out a bit and this one goes in. This one will come out and then I'll push this one, will slide in. So again, I'm just going to take my glue gun again and go right across the zip tie there. Okay, take your scissors and just push it down right till it won't go anymore and then hold it. Give it a few minutes, a few seconds, and then make sure your tail is underneath all the bubbles so it's not pulling and making a pancake like that one. And this one can slide up. Now these single ones, they were just fillers anyways, if you remember. Okay. Okay, that one stays out. This one's going to get slid in. And you can go around your wreath and push those 8. There will be 8. Push them in and hot glue them. Go around and puff out your balls, your baubles, whatever you want to call them. I'm so tired right now. I just don't want to call them anything. I just want to go to my bed. I'm going to push this one back. There we go. So you can move them around, shift them to wherever there's a space maybe missing. Okay, and that is your zinnia wreath. Okay, that's it. Now that's a lot of work, so if there is any questions on this wreath, please let me know, and I'd love to see pictures of it. And thanks for tuning in and buying Unique in the Creek Zinnia. Thanks, ladies. Bye-bye.